Oh, hold on a second. I gotta turn off the big light overhead. I don't need that on. Alright, so I'm not gonna record this whole thing because as much as I appreciated that other people did it, I'm a beginner, not at soldering, but at, small components and circuit cards. You can't see it from there. I wanted to show you a close-up of the circuit card, but yeah, I can do that. Just maybe if I tilt see if you can see it there. Wait a minute, I want to get it in the frame here. There she is. All right, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm trying to hold it straight. Everything is laid out on there. It shows you the directions of your clipping diodes. And I was calculating that actually, because remember that the one famed OD1 is a 14-pin chip, and this is an 8-pin chip, and then plus 3 extra clipping diodes, but not the main circuit diode, but 3 little clipping diodes. That would make 14 pins, right? Six legs plus 8 legs. That's right, 14. So that would be like the 14-pin chip, except only 8 of it is the clock chip, and then the other ones are the clipping diodes, and then there's a main diode. I saw there was one extra diode, so I probably was right when I guessed that. And I only knew that because there's clipping diodes in Klon pedals and clipping diodes in a Superfuzz. Which is a fuzz face, but it's not a germanium transistor fuzz face. It's clipping diodes with a bias pot in it. All right, so I'm learning anyway. That's why I'm not going to record the whole thing, but see if I can make better lighting here. On the paper. There's the direction sheet. What I'm going to do, move this in closer so you can see, I guess. I'm going to go over the whole list of items here, and I'll take, what did I do with it? I have one black pen for circling items that are potentially substituted values, because that does happen. On the last one it did happen, and I heard other people the same thing happened. And this is a highlighter so that I'm not crossing out. I'm just highlighting what I find here when I do my inventory. So now I'll just back this up a little bit so you can watch. So now see what it'll come in groups like this. See, like this is a group of 4, and then it'll have, oops, I forgot the magnifier so I can show you things. Hold on. I need to have that anyway. I might as well bring these other tools back over here. All right. So someone has, well, I can't even see what I'm doing. Yeah, you can't see it from there. Someone has written on it, they wrote 10K. So this is 4 10K resistors. This is how I do it. You see, I got everything laid out. Here's all my resistors. And these are the small ones. These are what they call, I think they call them 1/8 watt resistors. These are tiny ones. Or 1/4 watt, I'm not sure. But they're resistors. These are not directional. They go in either way. But right now I'm not going to do any soldering, so I'm going to lay off that. I keep this magnifying glass so I can see good. Circuit card out of the way. I don't want that to get scratched up or get any crud on it. So what I did first of all, right out of the beginning of it, is I put the box up out of the way because I don't need the box, the feet, or the screws. I don't need the battery clip yet. I don't need my pots yet. I don't need these knobs yet. The switch will be the last thing I put on the card. I won't solder the power connector, the LED, or the jacks, or any of the wires until after the card is completed. So what I've done is I laid out all my, let me put this light up on it, that'll make it brighter, eh? Maybe. Yeah, it does a little. I put out all my capacitors, my red polyester capacitors, film capacitors. These are my 3 clipping diodes, and this is my regular large circuit diode. I'm guessing those are for clipping. That's would make sense why there's so many extra little diodes which if that's what these are, I'll find out on this list. And these are also directional. You have to pay attention to direction on diodes, direction on electrolytic capacitors, these tall cans. These polyester ones are not directional. However, I always put them in the direction of the writing on the card. Well, always. I only did one on the card, but all of them I put in the direction of the writing. It's just because that's how I wanted to do it. Here's my transistors, and here's my circuit bus, which, what do they call it? Not a crib. What's it called again? It is not a chip harness. I don't know what it's called. It's called whatever. It's a retainer. It's a 8-pin retainer. So, and then this is a variable resistor. It's basically a little mini pot that gets soldered to the card. And this is actually exactly like the one from Radio Shack that I soldered into that super fuzz pedal I was talking about. Anyhow, and then there's this little lone capacitor here. It's like one of these little yellow ceramic or tantalum, whatever it's called. He's all by himself, so he goes up there. And then this is the chip. And the chip, I don't need the chip to do the work. So the best bet for the chip is to put it somewhere safe. So I'm going to put it up there at the top with the things I'm not going to touch at all. So that's how everything's laid out. This is simple. This is barely any pieces compared to the last one. So this check sheet should go quick. All right, so the way I'm going to do it, rather than look at the list and then try to find them, that's very frustrating, actually. And I populate the board the same way, which I'm not going to do on the camera, but I'm doing this for your encouragement. All right, so I got 4 here, and I've looked at it, and it's 10K. So first thing I'll do is I'll look on this list, and it'll say the amount, and then a dash, and then what it is, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for 4 under resistors. There's resistors. I know those are resistors. So I go down and there's 4 at 10K. Boom, got it. Check. All right. So that exists. I'll move that up here out of the way. So now I got 2 at 47R. So I'll look for the number 2, and there's 47R right there. Boom. All right, check. This is how I do the checklist. That way I don't get deep into it and then have to contact the company and say, I can't finish. I'd rather not do that to myself. I'd rather have everything and then, All right, so this is 3 at 1K. So I'll look and I'll say 3, the number 3, dash, and I see 1K right after it. So that's a check. That exists. Now what I'll do is as I populate the board, I'll check these off with yellow. Each, I don't know if you can see it there. All right. So now I will go to these single ones. I have 2 more single ones here. That's a 1 meg. And there it is, 1 at 1 meg. Mega ohm, or whatever it stands for. Megalodon. And this is the best way for me to do it. That keeps me calm, and I know I'm not. And then this is sloppy. This is my recorder that I don't know how to use anymore under here. But you do want to have a space to set out all your stuff so it's not flopping over. Because like that little thing and these little pieces, they could easily get lost, and you don't want to do that. So, I mean, maybe you do, but sometimes it's hard to read the handwriting. But honestly, this handwriting is very good, considering how tiny it is. It looks like it says 49C or 9AC. It's difficult to see this one. So I'm going to look. It says 1 at 470K. So I'm going to look at that again. 470K, that's him. Yep. Now, see, that's where you have to use your brain, because the person couldn't write 470K on there, which was actually very considerate of them to do that, so that you don't have to look up all those stripes and say blue plus orange equals green and try to figure out what it's supposed to be, which I don't know. All right, so next I see capacitors, so I'm going right for it. So instead of looking at the list, I'm going to pick up one. Now, these ones you have to use the magnifying glass to see what they say. And in some cases, you need a double magnifying glass. They're very clear, but they're very tiny. This one says F81332J. That could be one of those substitute ones. That's actually the value that was in my other one, I think, that was substituted. So 332J, there's 332 right there. Now, see the way they have this written, you will have to use your brain. You have to use deduction, say it's not that one, it's not that one, it must be this one, maybe, and then look at it. It says 1 dash, that's a quantity, and then dash 0.0033 UF. So 0033, that will be what? A picofarad or a microfarad or microfarad? I don't know how that is, but 33, right? So you know this is a 332, and the model number is an F81, which it's not telling us at all, but it does say 332 there. So I know that that's this one. And that's the way you have to operate. So it helps to know the basic components, which, you know, I'm still learning right now, actually. That's how I learned that a transistor was known as an integrated circuit. I didn't know that. So this one says, yeah, this is hard to see. L104, L something 104. So I'm going to look at my capacitors here, and I see one at 0.1 UF, right? And then it is I guess that's called a microfarad. It's not a U. Well, actually, they do draw it as a U on here. Yeah, it's a microfarad, but it's ultrafarad or whatever. But it says 10, not a O, it's a 0. 104, and that says 104. So now what I can do also to keep myself from having to, you know, guess again, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to write on this 104. Nice and big on there, 104. All right, so now, and I'm going to go back to this one here, and I'm going to write 332 on it. That way I'm not, and I'm going to double check it and make sure I wrote it on the right one, because, you know, unsoldering things is not fun. Yes, that's the 332. So it's 104, 3, and 332, and I've written them down. So that's why I use one black pen, and also to circle things on the card, what are question marks. I also, as I'm soldering, I'll circle something on the card. I'll say, you know, I had a little issue there. I had to use the solder sucker and clean it up. So I'm going to go back and check if there's a problem. It just so happens there was no problems, which is how I know that these traces are very good traces, because I did slop solder a couple of times and it didn't take to the traces. So this is and it's heavy. It's a good quality card. This is a nice kit. Well, I don't know. I haven't put this one together yet, but the last one was very nice. All right, so now I did not like the box. The box, no good. Too small. It's not no good. It's just you can't fit the battery in it. You can't fit the battery in it, and it's quite a challenge to pack it all in there. I don't like doing things like that. All right, L62474. I guess it's good experience, but I don't like that I can't fit the battery in it. Swollen battery will not fit. L62474. So now I'll look here and see what I have. I have two at 0.47 ultra UF or microfarads or ultrafarads, and then it puts in parentheses 474. So that's one of them. So I'll put a little half highlighter through there, and I'm going to assume, don't assume anything when you're doing this circuit. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put a little piece of blue tape on these and mark them. This one is also yes, I assumed correctly, 474, and this one is, see, check twice, right? Because unsoldering something is going to be a real Drag. Yeah, it will be a drag. Drag is actually an aeronautical term, or it could be a seafaring term also, or tractor pull. All right, so I'll put blue tape on those, just like that. See? You don't want to crud them up. That's what I'm using painter's tape here. It's low tack. All right, so I can cross that off with the, I'm not crossing it off, I'm highlighting it because I'll need it for reference. Now these are called 474s, so I'll write 474 and nice big numbers on there. See? Basically what they did on all these little ones, but I'm doing it on the big ones also. Now I want to be careful here because I'm losing my stuff. All right, there it is. All right, so now I'm going to just bring these other components down here because I have yet to do them. I'm going to move these jacks over here with the rest of the stuff that I don't need. Circuit card is circuit card only first is what I'm soldering first. All right, so since I have 2 more capacitors, all right, that will be this little tiny one here. This is also not directional. I don't know if this is called tantalum or ceramic. Now this one is very tiny. You definitely need K2J101 on the other side of it. So look here. I don't see anything like that. But picofarad, I do see picofarad. This is 101. I see a 100 picofarad. So I'm going to take a guess, 101, that this is a substitute for a 100 picofarad. It's a 101. Maybe they said, you know what, just a little bit more on the value, or the tolerances were too slim and they decided to go up to the next step, or that's just how it comes in at a 101, like 151 Bacardi B, which technically probably is not 151 proof. It just sounds, like, more. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I do have 2 more capacitors. All right, so this is my picofarad one. These other ones are going to be electrolytic capacitors because I see that there's no decimal in front of them, which means the values are greater. So those will be these big cans. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write on this one. This is my 100, and I'll put a 1 in parentheses there. 101, because I do want to remember that it was a substituted value. That's how I learn to use my own deductive reasoning, see. All right, so now I'm going to look at this one. 47. This is a 47. That's right here. Oops. See, I'm making some headway here. I'll show you when I'm done what it looks like. So I'm going to write right on this card, even though you can see it if you look in the magnifying glass. Now I wrote 47. So I'll put them up here. This is a simple circuit. I'll be able to blow this one out. Well, that's not true. The wiring takes time because I want to put little shrink wrap sleeves on every single one of the potentiometer legs. I thought that was a great idea. That was, what is his name? Not Fairy Boots. I'm sorry. It's the guy that built the synthesizer out of 1x4s and stuff. And he did the T-tone delay pedal also. But what was I going to say about it that he did? I forgot. Oh yeah, putting the sleeves on the legs. Yeah, I think it was him. He put the sleeves on all these little legs here, which is I think is a great idea. Because, if the wiring gets bent in there and 2 of the legs touch each other, shorts the circuit. No good. All right, so get back to the drawing board here. This is a 100 UF, and there it is right there. No decimal in front of it. So the larger ones are no decimals. They're larger value. So the other ones are microfarad, and those are, which they still put as microfarad, but they put, decimal 0.00, you tell you the value that way. Gets a little confusing, but I'm learning. Now these ones were a little bent. I just want to make sure that it's not twisted. No, it seems all right. All right, so on to the next diodes. First thing I know is I have 3 of these. See, I have 1, 2, 3. These are the little ones that I suggested might be clipping diodes in addition to the 8 pins, which makes the 14-pin circuit, right? So 3 of these are analog and the other ones are computer chip. Right? So there's 3, and it says N. Before I cross it out, I'm going to use the Magna magnifier here to try to see. Oh yeah, there's definitely writing on there. Hold on a minute. I think I need a microscope. Well, I would like to just assume, but you know, there's only 4 diodes here, so. But I like to visually see and know what I'm doing. Wow, that's small. I see a 4, an 8. What does it say here? Yeah, 41, 48. All right, that'll be these. Wow, that writing is very small. All right. So this is why to do an inventory. Number 1, you learn your components, and you know where everything is. You know that you have everything before you start. Now, this is 1 diode. Now, I know 1 diode, boom, boom, boom. This is it. It's not the light-emitting diode. I know what that is. But I want to read this value anyway because this is how I learn, see? So this is 4004, and there it is, N4004. All right. And these select components, and I know, are part of the reason that delay sounds so good. And honestly, I've been running it on a battery. It's starting to get saggy and distorted and gross, but that's my fault. All right, now this, LED, that's right up here. I already saw that, so I'm going to leave it right where it is because it's going to be one of the last things I do. Now, IC, integrated chip. It is a Texas Instruments 82, TL082. And that's up here. I put it up out of the way where nothing will happen to it. It won't get bent. It's a little tricky getting it in there, so I definitely don't want to bend it on top of it and complicate things or break any of the tiny microscopic circuits in there. All right, so now the next part says 2 at 2N7000. That will be transistors. And I just want to look. I know obviously that these are that. Yep, there's N2N7000 CUC. Right, so there they both are. I'm going to cross them out. This is not boring. This is actually exciting, right? Watching me solder, that would be boring. Maybe not. I don't think so, but definitely, like Kobe said in his video, I want to focus when I do it. He has way more experience. I'm like a Christmas baby when it comes to this. All right, pots. So there's only one of these, and it's going to be a small one. There it is, trim. It's a trim pot. This says 50K. This says 503. So there you go. Again, I have to use my deductive reasoning. 503, that's going to be my 50K pot. Just trust me. I know. I mean, I don't know, but trust me. I know. All right. So then now I have 3 pots here. And even though I know I have 3 pots, I want to check them for the correct values because the values matter. So I keep moving this chip bus. What do you call it again? Chip socket? I don't know to say on here what it is. Yeah, it's called an 8-pin chip socket, right? All right, so now you got to look a few different places on these pots. On the bottom part and on the front part, they're written in different places sometimes. And the other thing I forgot to tell you the last time that someone did say in their video, there's a little tab on the pot, and you have to take some cutters. You know, you don't want to use, you know, your fine solder and wire cutters because you'll ruin them. So you got to get like some flush nippers or something, some good, you know, diagonal cutters, or just a file. And you got to take that little tab off of there, or these pots will not sit in there right. That tab is if, let's say, you were screwing into something very soft, you know, like a soft piece of plastic or something where you couldn't tighten the nut down tight enough, and you just don't want it to turn. It's a little extra tiny hole that gets drilled. And you don't want to drill that extra tiny hole in your box unless you do. And if you do, then go ahead and do it. But otherwise, cut that tab off. All right, so this pot here says B104. Now I'm going to show you deduction again. B100K, B500K, B50K. All right, 104. That's obviously going to be my 100K, which is cool because that means this is going to have a little more sweep than what the circuit calls for, which means you won't I won't be saying, I wish it just had just a skosh or a New York minute more on it, because it will. All right. So, and I think they did this to these circuits on purpose because that substituted value in that delay pedal, perhaps the reason that circuit is so bright, and honestly, it's like right at the cusp because, if you go too bright on what they call an analog delay, it will make a lot of ticking noises, like tick, tick, tick. It won't be pleasant, but it's still warm, and yet, as you've heard in the other videos, it's a very bright circuit, so maybe that was the substitution they made. All right, this is B503. So I'm going to look here. I have a B500K. So this is 503, right? There again, I have just a little more than the recommended value, which is cool. Which means you can go into the negative or, a little further than need be, maybe. Well, that's also for tolerances too. These are... Wait a minute. This one says B500K, and that one says, oh, maybe that's my 50K. Now, see, this is where you got to pay attention. B503 could be my 50K. Hold on. B104. All right, that's my 100. 104 is my 100. That I'm sure of. All right, I got these two confused. You definitely don't want to do that when you're soldering them. B500K is written very plainly, so there's 500K, which I had already marked off, which was not. This is 500K. And then this B503 is actually my B50K, right? Which if I look somewhere on the pot, somewhere else, which I'm going to right now, up here on the top part where the little screw cover is, yes, it says B50X. So yeah, there you go. You got to use your brains a little bit. Even just to do your inventory, which is why I'm doing the inventory first. All right, so this is a chip socket. I'm going to put this up here because that will get soldered in. Also, that'll be one of the first things I do. My chip socket, my resistors. I'm probably going to start with the chip socket just to get warmed up, but you probably should start with resistors because they handle more heat. And you don't have to be as cautious, right, just to get warmed up. I mean, you have to be cautious, but not as cautious as if you were to drain, solder all over this chip socket, and, that would make a mess. All right, so DC jack, I have two 6.35 millimeter in-out jacks. Yes, I have. Battery snap, 3 knobs. Those are nice knobs. They have set screws. PCB board, yes, it's very nice. 20 wires. Now this last time they shorted me several wires, but I have plenty of wire, but they probably should give you enough wires because you gotta figure someone, that circuit sounds so great. I have no complaint. Except the box, you can't fit a battery in it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's only 17 wires in here. I'll find out why the hard way. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mark it off with a circle and write 17, right? That's the way I do things. All right. 1 3-pole double throw foot switch, yes. Box, yes. 8-pin socket, yes. And LED holder, yes. Which the LED comes already mounted in. An LED is a light emitting diode, which is in the diode list. All right, so there you go. You can see everything's yellow. Prepare for launch. seatbelts on, warm up your space helmet, and get your popcorn. We're going to take off. All right, so that's that. I just wanted to share it because other people shared and honestly encouraged me, and it just discouraged me also, which is good. I wanted that. Like if somebody tells me like you probably should not start with the delay pedal, I was like, well, I probably want the delay pedal, so I'm willing to take my chances. But you honestly should practice soldering, something sloppy like the jack on your guitar, or two wires together before you start, touching this circuit card, because these holes are so tiny and you cannot ream them without messing up the situation. And you definitely don't want to have to sit there and try to, because I did have to hold a component and heat it up and get it to push through the card as it's heating, like, because you put the wrong component in and you had to pull it out, and then you hope you didn't overheat it and it's been bent 50 times. So you don't want to do that. I did that, and you don't want to do that. This card is a very heavy card. This is a nice circuit card. It's very nice. All right, so that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'll tell you want to have good lighting, which obviously around here I have good lighting, but it's not translating to the camera very well because the room was dark. And I didn't want to put the camera right on top of the work, but there's all the components. There's the checklist, and there's the picture of the card, and here's the actual card. And everything's laid out. It's all explanatory, with the exception of the wiring. Yeah, the wiring, it doesn't tell you where to put the grounds. There's 4 grounds on the card. Actually, this card only has 3 grounds on it. I reckon you only got to use 2 of the grounds. I copied off of somebody else's. Look for pictures of the circuit. Look for a video of somebody building it. But the grounds, I believe, go to the jacks. Let's see. Jack. Yeah. Ground shield goes to both jacks. So your 2 grounds will come off of this bottom of this card here. You have another place for a ground here. That's if you wanted to, I assume, ground it to the box or ground it to something else, an external ground, or I don't know what that would be for. My my delay card had 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I only had to use 2 of them. And I did that by imitating, pausing the video and imitating what the other guy had done on his stuff. The guy who built the synthesizer, I forget the name of his screen. But Colby and the other one, those were the ones that were building the T-Tone delay from AliExpress, which mine came from Amazon, and it's known as Landtone, but it is the exact same people and the exact same circuit. It's an identical circuit. So, and the kit was also, same substituted value in the same area, and it was the same kit. All right, so that's that. I hope that encourages you. This one's called DIY OD-1. Which would be probably like a Boss OD1, I'm assuming. Which actually, I remember someone wrote in a description one time, it's a very colored circuit, and they're right about it. It seems to have a creamy compression to it, but for single notes, it's very good sounding, and it doesn't sound bad for chords either. But like I said, I compared a new one to an old one, and they were grossly different. So I'm going by what Kobe said about his on his channel. He said it's exactly what I would want my amp to sound like in breakup, which in my opinion his amp was already breaking up, and he was playing more of like a grunge style of strumming, which, was fine. I could still hear it. It sounds good. It sounds grumbly. I could hear what he's talking about. It has a little bit of a hollow quality, but some coloring to it. But I couldn't tell how it's going to fare with my Stratocaster. It may not be a sound I like, but I can tell right now from these components that it can't, possibly sound better, because it could possibly sound better. But these are all nice looking components. And that delay pedal that I built sounds great, except that I am running the battery down to about 6 volts, and I probably should be running it off of the 9-volt cable. All right, so that's a lot of opinions for such a beginner, but my point was to encourage or discourage you, and that's how to do the checklist. Lay out all your stuff so that you know what you have. You're not wasting time, and you're not getting discouraged. Box you don't need. Well, you could. You might want to use your brain. You might want to put the jacks in the box. No, you can't. You can't. They go on top of the card. Yeah, this is tricky. Getting in the box is tricky. Maybe ask for advice on that one. I don't have an opinion on it. I think the box is entirely too small. You have to scrub a battery in there, like, and then I had to grind a little bit of the inside lip of the bottom lip of the box out to fit the battery. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Just ask for advice if you're going to use the box. My opinion is the box is too small, but I may just use it for this one because it is what it is. It's an overdrive. I think I want to make a clear window though, because I do want to see this circuit, but if I do that, I don't want to see it all smashed with wires draped across it. And, oh, that's the other thing. I did want to point that out. And I did point it out, but I want to point it out again. I don't see any on here that say that, honestly. But if you do see a component that says lay down, and it says on the card lay down, I'm looking, I don't see any right now, but if you see any that say lay down, you have to lay those down because that's where the jacks go. And that's why you're laying components down. I thought it was something to do with heat and to have a little bit longer legs and to keep them away from resistors. It had nothing to do with that. It doesn't generate enough heat. It was to do with the jacks being able to fit in there. All right, so that's it. I hope that helps you. I don't know, what should I call this video? How to do your pedal kit inventory, I guess. Lantone pedal kit inventory. Yeah, I guess I could do that. I'm trying not to write the brand names on things because a lot of my content is, a little raw. It's not a little raw. It's a lot raw. I talk about some dirty and horrible things in some of my videos, which I do put explicit on them, but, I don't want to put people's brand name on that, so I'm not talking explicit in this one, but I'll probably just put, overdrive, DIY overdrive inventory. Maybe I'll call it something like that. But this is to help other people. Maybe that's what I'll call it, to encourage or discourage you. Oh, I got to go check my pot on the stove. All right, take it easy.